Please welcome.
My name is Jan Kriekels, and I'm from Belgium. My name is Jan Kriekels.
When I was born and got through the schools, I was always interested what I had to come to do on this planet. Yeah? And for this, when I was young, I knew that I was going to see the world. So I have seen more than 100 countries on the world with backpack, as a businessman, going to fairs, meeting people. And I saw this planet transforming. I was here 30 years ago. I was in Beijing 30 years ago. I did not see very much light there. So this planet is under a huge transformation caused by humans. I also studied psychology, therefore I know something about the brain, and I try to find, and I've written a book about it. It's also in English. It's about the universal or the planetary survival model. How are we going to survive in the universe on this little creation with this little atmosphere? So we have to take care of some principles. If we don't take care of these principles, and we only think about humans and not about the nature, something is going to happen to us. Yeah? So the book is based on 5 principles, 5 guiding principles for you designers, creators, people in politics, people in economy, any place. These 5 principles are like the 5 wise archetypes which every society which sustained before us used to have. One of the first one and most important one is respect nature. We create a lot of entropy. Entropy is the result of our actions. It's a kind of energy and material or water system at a lower energy base. And we cannot pump it up. We only use from a higher system to a lower. For example, the whole industrialization we had, the latest 150 years, created a big glass hut around the world, which we call CO2. But actually, you can compare it with a glass hut. And the energy going through it, part of it will never get out of it. So there's a reduction of the sun energy coming in. And when this energy stays on the world, we call it the global warming. A very easy system. And we can measure it. Never before has humans been so intelligent as today of knowing what's going on. But we have difficulties of having actions. As you see today, the parts per million carbon dioxide in the air is more than 400 parts per million. It's more than 2 million years ago, even before humans existed, we had this carbon dioxide. So in the respect nature philosophy, we have to take care about our atmosphere. As you see today, this coming out of National Geographic, we create a lot of temperature on the planet, and it's causing a very interactive system which we cannot control anymore. For example, I'm specialist in heating. All the systems we design, they don't save so much energy. As you see the infrared cameras here on the houses or on the cars, as you see, we make very inefficient systems. So we have to design a higher technology based on clean energy systems. What do I mean with clean energy systems? We use the fire or burning of products of the world. The result is energy, and from this energy we create our wealth, because without the fire we are zero in the nature. Fire helps us to create energy in the form of electricity, moving our cars, making products. But until today, we did not care much about the result of the entropy. If you look to the materials, because there's many, many solutions, you find easily hundreds of solutions not to burn, let's say, oil or gas to create wealth. If you look, so respect nature is a very important thing at this period in time. If you look to the raw materials, because we have 4 elements, also materials, we see that very basic materials will only be left for 20 years. And basically 58 years we have only raw materials as we know today. So in this industrialization, which we are so proud of, there will be an end, especially in the energy and in the raw materials. So we have to rethink the raw materials. What does it mean? You see here, if you live like Americans, we only have 20 years. Me as a company, I have a company worldwide, more than 600 people, creating products for people. We try to create as light products as possible. For example, in our business, we create 250 watts per kilogram heating systems. Till today, there's also systems in the market which create only 1 watt. So actually, when you're designing products, take care of the life cycle index. It's a score of how you take the product out of the world, how you use it, and how you recycle it or put it back. These principles are called cradle to cradle or circular thinking. We think too much as a linear, as a line of time. Time is a circle. Everything we bring in, we get back in our face. For example, here you see an exhibition we made. We save all this energy by putting these new products. So our life cycle index is more efficient and it's more democratic, leaving materials behind for other generations. Also creating forms, you see, we use very, very efficient material saving systems to create forms as light as possible. We only have to look into nature to find all these things. For these reasons, we give 30 years guarantee on our products. There should be a law that all the products created, which have to be sustainable, should give at least between 30 and 50 years. Nobody would create more junk than we have today. We do some experiments with the plastics already. You see, we reuse the plastics in a circle, and we already make radiators from it. Also, we make radiators which are made from organics or growable materials, because the growable materials, they are renewable. Other materials, anorganic materials, which we take from the world, we only can use once. Also, radiators we make out of minerals. When we throw them back in nature, nature can absorb them and give forms to other lives. This is, for example, a radiator made of, let's say, grass, like bamboo grass. They are cut through, and so in a lifetime, when they go back to the earth, earth will absorb it without any inefficiency. The third element is the water. And when we talk about the water, this is a very fragile thing. There's only 3% of the water in the world, and lots of the water is in the processes of making food, making clothing and everything. We have to think of recyclable water systems today. Today we just get all the water in the sea. We know the systems like plastic soap. So we have to find more intelligent systems to recycle the clean water. For example, this is not just a good example here. You see, these people take historical water, fossil water, and let it evaporate to power agriculture. This is only a linear thinking. The water will never go back in the soil. For this, I put a big whale before the factory, just to demonstrate that with all the waste we have today on this industrialization, even systems, organic systems like these fish, which are mammals, and they exist 400 million years on the planet, are already dying of the plastics. So it is possible to make nice products with an ecological mind. I just advise you to rethink all your processes and look to the life cycle index. But in creating beauty, there is more than technology. There's also something as a form. Because when we make a nice form, and for today here we are here as designers, the nice form will live on forever. If you create something which has not a correct form, it will become waste quickly because people throw it away. And also when you let people interact with the form, the customer, make interactive designs, people will love their own products. Huh? People love their own children. Huh? It's the same with the products they create for themselves. So it's open creativity. Huh? So we have to find more a balance today with making forms for people and bring it more open to the customer. I'll give you some examples. This is also a radiator you can find here on the stand, made of stone. We have radiators looks like pianos, made of minerals, which open when actually, for example, people come inside, you need some fresh air. The radiators, which are part of the wall, open up, bring fresh air, and they also recycle the energy from the air going out. See, creativity is also creating other forms which are sometimes not so functional, but on the form side, on the design side, they're optimal. For example, here you see the iguana, vertical freestanding. It's like a tail. And these are more functional forms. See, iguana. Also open creativity. We have some shops in the world which we call create your own. So we let the customer, through some principles, create their own products. So it's an open design company. Of course, driven by technology, because in energy efficiency, the products have to be very light to move. Energy is also moving through a radiator. And in order to measure if we are doing well, we won a lot of international design awards, like EF awards. So if you want to be a good designer of products, go into these competitions and you compete with other people and you make a collective brain about this. For example, here you see in Living Tomorrow, a wooden radiator I have on the stand, just to show you that it's possible to make things people never thought they were existing. So beside the respect nature archetype in your brain, you also need to go to the, let's say, Awake the Artist, which is about the form. But there's a third part in your brain. It's the visionary capacity. We have something like a fantasy. A fantasy is a marvelous thing to have. Probably animals don't have it. But with the fantasy, we can travel through time, we can travel through space, even faster than the light, and we can create objects which are never existed in our dreams. So get somebody with a lot of fantasy in your group, because he wants to see the future. He wants to see where we land. And if you talk with this visionary guy, and you answer him, well, how you see the future? It does not look so well, he says. I see not so much energy, because the energy is wasting the atmosphere. So we have to make renewable energy. Today, less than 3 or 4% of the energy we use is renewable. The rest is fossils we burn. If we look to the materials, I told you, every day there's less, and we want to go from 7 billion people to 10 billion people. What systems are we going to use? So we see more life, more pollution. Does anybody have a survival model? How are we going to compete with the future? And these visionary people, they have ideas. For example, bring the food back to the people, close to the people in order not to waste all the transport systems, and having all these trucks on the highway. This is, for example, a closed bubble in Norway where people for a whole city can create their own food. This is a project I'm working on with the Grupo Torcello in South America. 160,000 people can live and work and grow their food inside the building. There's also some interesting Belgian artist in Schouten, and he sings the future of the cities is growable cities. So we have to find some system in the biology to grow the city. If we have growable cities, that would be interesting, because in growing cities, we would have the CO2 back in the air, because by the photosynthesis and the plant, the CO2 would go into the houses. Also, the climate change, as you see, Philippines is only one example, and it's just the start. This is, for example, Vincent Callebaut, who's made survival bubbles on the ocean for peoples which have problems with the atmosphere, or which some strong winds, or like in the Philippines. For this, we already created experiments in our company, How are we going to compete with the air? Because the things you breathe is one of the most important things, and we don't know what we are breathing. When you examine the air, there's a lot of carbon dioxide. So we designed some kind of oxygen bubble. This is like, for example, your iPad 10. You go and live inside, and you have some visionary capacity, which you can transform into some kind of images. And you can travel or visit places through Google systems. Actually, you don't have to move every day in all these stupid cars everywhere. And going somewhere for some small talks. You can socialize in the bubbles with other bubbles. We can create the perfect air for you, because we have a technology to create perfect air like you're in the mountains. You can make bubbles for families. You can make bubble parks where people go on the weekend and exercise being together. These technologies already exist. We put someone in living tomorrow in Belgium. But also for schools, for example, we also made these technologies. On the other hand, visionary capacities, we dream of having no heating or cooling anymore. We dream of having suits which can make this. So we made also suits with phase-changing materials which can absorb the energy of the sun, and when you need it sometimes, you can actually heat these places on your body where you actually need it. So it's even more efficient. So as I told you, everything has to be more smart. Also your energy use, you have to control on the distance. And that's where we need some systems like chips or intelligence. And the only thing with intelligence is today, the guarantee is very poor. The systems we buy in our televisions or telephones, they only give 1 year guarantee. I don't want a system which only gives 1 year guarantee. So we have to create more sustainable, let's say, chip that can give 50 to 100 years guarantee on a telephone or a system on energy system. Going back to our brain, you see we already went to respect nature, which is actually our mother. We are part of it. We are creatives. Wake the Artist means make it interactive and only create beauty. If it's not beautiful, don't do it. If people don't like the beauty of things, don't make it, even if it's cheap. And of course, if you make things, they have to fit in the future, otherwise they become waste. So you have to think how the future looks like. And it's not easy, of course, because everybody has another meaning, and systems rule the world today. For this reason, we opened an experience lab, a future lab into Jaga. As you see, all the sticks is part of your brain, and we want to connect all the brains of the world to make smarter systems for humanity. But it's not only design, it's not only visionary capacity, but it's also engineering capacity we want to include there. So please open these free, innovative open design centers. So if I look to the future, we have to create a new confirmateur or a configurator where actually the elements are inside. Things have to be balanced with nature, things have to balance with beauty, things have to fit into the future, and they have to touch our heart. If the things don't touch our heart, they are meaningless. For this, we do experiments sometimes with huge collective groups of 3 people which come to the factory. In this case, it's about 150 younger and elder people, schools and everybody, and we ask them, what do you really need for the future? And for example, this Open Innovative Days, we created 150 radiators in 1 week. So it is possible to renew, it's possible to innovate. We just have to use more introspection and living more to the values. For example, here we also made eatable radiators, chocolate radiators. For this, we also, in this, let's say, recyclable philosophy, the Belgian district of Belgian, how do you call it? The name, I don't have it. We put a house completely of waste. Flanders District of Creativity was it, World Congress. We put a complete house of waste, all the complete house you see with the design elements inside, the light, eating the solar systems are made of waste we find in the belts. Just to do exercises how people have to live in the future. And also, Create emotions means bring your ideas to the world. For this, I did a world tour with a special truck just to find out what people think about the future. And we have to think in the art also to bring things which bring a difference. For example, here you see the Coca-Cola radiator. It means even from empty bottles of Coca-Cola, we designed some radiators. For the radiators here you see them on the stand. This radiator is an aluminum radiator, and the cans you see is 3,500 empty cans of Coca-Cola. And we use as a symbol, you see the logo is the symbol of innovation. It's the symbol of the womb of the woman and the fledge of the man. It means internal innovation. And it's let's say, it's also the signs of the Rolling Stones are made of empty, used cans of aluminum. For this, for example, to show that our company wants to use reused materials or reused materials, we even made for the Rolling Stones 50 pieces of art. And these are all radiators. So we have 50 special pieces of radiators for the 50 years of Rolling Stones. So my dream actually is to bring this fire back to the gods, because all our industrialization is built on energy. And the energy is not clean. So one of the most important fundamentals of our society is not clean. It's not, let's say, into the future. We even had somebody, you see the small car, is a solar car. He has driven 13,000 kilometers to prove the world that you don't need oil to move. This whole evolution we call green force. It means a brighter and better future for our children. But we are still missing one archetype. And this archetype is really not a dreamer or a biological engineer or a designer or a visionary. It's somebody who really says, okay, everything we do is just to make a bridge for the people behind us. And that's more the spiritual thing.
Producing.
I have a little movie about the spiritual experiment. 3 minutes.
From listening to records, I just knew what to do. I mainly taught myself. And, you know, I did pretty well, except there were a few mistakes.
Here we went with 100 people into the desert
cleared up.
to experience life again, to find out how we have to live, how we have to use water, what people means to you,
I'd
what
like
the
to just
stars
continue
mean,
to be able to express
and really
myself
work together to bring a message to the world.
in this job. And I feel like I have
This
a lot of work.
future society we call Uchronia.
I'm a student of the drums.
This is built of 150,000 meters of wood. It's just an exercise in spirituality, what's important in life. As you see, there's about 50,000 other creative souls visiting it. You see, everybody is one stick, and this is the totem of the new humanity. The totem means the things we worship. All our brains have to be connected as one brain. That's the only solution to have a democracy. In materials, in politics, and in energy. So we just have to find the systems to connect our brains together. This is the fifth archetype. He says, the only meaning of life is to give life to another generation. So the fire, you see, is actually what we do every day with everything. For example, the energy you see here is only the energy of one truck a year of energy. Can you imagine how many fires we have in the world?
What makes cancer tenacious? The moon rules the fluids, including the inner juices.
So my message is that we have really, on the first step, look back to the four elements of life, make them clean and make a better world.
Slowly until it becomes a part of it.
For example, all the radiators we make in Jaga are already built to go on this clean energy. This is the totem we built, it's 150,000 meters of wood. So actually, our life, we should be not so much calculators, we should be more daredevils, because it's the bridge for another generation. Going back to memorize it, I have 1 minute, I think. The formula is 3 times EQ. 1 time AQ is emotional intelligence, and one time spiritual intelligence. So let's do it all together now. You'll find it in my book, Innovate or Die. Thank you.